So it's wonderful to see such a huge turnout here this evening. So wonderful evening today. We're going to have a fabulous session. This is Abhijit Maitre. I'm host for today's evening here. So we're going to have a wonderful discussion story with Mr. Sanjay Mittal on Sparkshot and his journey. So I want to step away from this dais and connect with you all with Mr. Sanjay Mittal and my story. Before I do that thing, let me welcome Mr. Sundarajan, if you could come on the dais, and would like to welcome Mr. Sanjay Mittal.
Sanjay, pleasure having you. Several reasons. Can you all hear me right today? One, happened to a good friend. That's the foremost. We happened to graduate from the same university, Why State University, though we didn't know at that time. We were adjacent buildings, but we graduated at the same time. We worked together for quite some time. One of those guys who I would call as technically very intense, and yet he has walked that path of being an entrepreneur for quite some time. It's a very rare combination. Interestingly, he started his career as a professor. So you start teaching, then you become an employee of some company, you become an employer, you have multiple companies. I think the list is endless. I was talking to Vishwas when we walked in. He said, well, you know Sanjay very well, so you can take a lot of skeleton out of the cupboard. All I want to say is, Sanjay is all flesh, a good human being, and if there is any skeleton there, I think it's right inside. I haven't seen any of that, so don't be surprised if skeletons come out of this particular interaction. Sanjay, again a warm welcome to Pune, and let's start from the very beginning.
Sure. Can I say a couple of things before you do that? So I want to thank you and Ty for giving me a chance to be here. If they say quit when you're ahead, so after intro like that, I think I should walk out now because it'll only be downhill from here. Quick correction: I was not on the board of Ty Global. I was on the board of Ty Silicon Valley. So I just want to clarify that. Also, while I'm on the clarification path, Ty was started not by Kanwal and Vinod Khosla. Contrary to misperception there, it was really Kailash Joshi, Suhas Patil, AJ Patil, Prabhu Goyal, they are the four key people. Kanwal came later, Vinod Khosla was a bit later, but of course, Kanwal and Vinod are better known, so it's always easier to sort of take the luminary's name, but I think in fairness, I should point out who the real founder was. But in any case, I think happy to be here. I think I'm proud to be a Ty member, and Ty has helped me in multiple ways, and in some small ways, I hope I've been able to give back to the community. Also, I've known Sundar for a long time, and our paths have crossed so much that he could probably do my bio himself without my having to say anything.
So I just want to start with your family background. Your dad was a mathematics professor. Yeah.
Right.
So how was it like? Did you expect a lot of?
So my dad was a math professor. My mom was a Hindi professor. So I had two professors in the house. But I never lived in the house because I actually went to a hostel from grade 1 and I lived in a different town. My parents were at Gwalior and I was in school in Delhi. So I didn't really know what it was like being at home anyway.
So there's no contamination, and yet you turned out to be
it's interesting. I mean,
academic scholar.
My dad was obviously he's a MSc in physics, PhD in maths, all that stuff. But he never put any pressure on me. I mean, he wanted me to excel. But the thing I remember most, what I learned from him, is a broad interest in life. I mean, it was not like push me to learn physics and chemistry. I learned politics, I learned humanities. When I went to IIT, the only courses that I got straight A's was humanities courses. So, and I think that's important for an entrepreneur because maths is maths, but when you look at what's going to go through over time, I've done manufacturing, I've done diagnosis, I've done medical stuff, now I'm doing advertising. So none of that I could be prepared for in college. So I think having a broad interest and broad background, I think better prepares you to some extent to be an entrepreneur than just being able to solve a partial differential equation in the fastest manner. Right?
He didn't tell you that you should go to IIT Kanpur.
No, actually it's interesting, we landed in Kanpur, right? And he went with me. He said, "You really want to be an engineer?" I said, "No." He said, "Okay, I'll go back and I'll call my friend at St. Stephen. You should do economics." So I almost switched out of Kanpur to go to economics, but IT is a month later. So by the time we called them, they said, "Well, we already been 2 months into the semester. I think he's going to be lost." And I said, "Okay, I'll stay in Kanpur."
It's a good cause. I think we all are benefiting out of that. IT Kanpur, then you you told me a couple of times that you were in the data center working for a while. Tell me about that. What does that drove you into working in a data center?
See, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a historian. That was I wanted to do history.
Okay.
My number one passion was history. When I was in 8th and 9th grade, I read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. That was my favorite book. So, engineering was the least interesting thing to me. So I went to Kanpur and we were doing, I always used to get B's and C's in physics. My favorite was maths. So the only maths course, physics course that I got an A was theoretical physics. So like beams and levers and so on were like totally alien to me. So I was designing circuits and I said, I'm going to fail in this. So I said, okay, computers I can do, it's abstract, it's not the real world. So the only time you could do computers as undergraduate was you go to the computer center and you're willing to work from the bottom up. I would just hang out there and slowly they took pity on me and said, okay, come and help out, and then I learned programming. And by the time I took the first course, I was already programming a lot. So
By the time you exited
yeah.
out?
No, by the time the first undergraduate programming course was in 3rd year. And I was programming from the 1st year. So
Is there anything you carry forward as a brick or a building block for whatever you have done later from IT Kanpur to what else?
persistence. If you want to do something, just stay at it, you'll eventually get there. Right? So I think the only thing I got from Kanpur is programming. By the time I went to Hasted, I was a pretty good programmer. Strong maths background. I think today I can probably still do, pretty good in maths, but circuit design, never did circuit design. Never in my life.
Then you were in Ohio State, and there's a lot of education on computer science and artificial intelligence and that kind of thing. But it was a big topic during those days. So very tempted to kind of venture into those kind of things. So how did you get into professional life and what?
So I did my PhD in computer science, focused on medical diagnosis. I wanted to do AI from day one. So, AI, if you look at AI, the late 70s to now, I think it's changed dramatically, and we can probably come back and talk about that. I did that and then stayed on as a professor for 2 years. But the place where you do PhD is not the place to build a professional career. So I think that was a very temporary thing. So I applied to Xerox PARC, and Xerox PARC was sort of the place to do computer science. And I was telling, I applied to Xerox PARC, and they got in. And it was so that was at this is 82, and AI had just started on this upward trajectory. For the next 4 or 5 years, all you heard about was artificial intelligence this, artificial intelligence that. Japan started a project called the 5th generation computing, and they were going to kill all of computers, software business in USA. Yeah, so Xerox PARC was fun. The early years there was a lot of excitement about artificial intelligence outside of PARC itself. Everywhere you go, there was art expert system, etc., etc. And then of course the technology didn't really turn out to be as widely accessible and useful. And so probably by 87, 88, the interest was waning. But more importantly, I think Xerox itself, its ability to leverage the work coming out of PARC was being called into question. They were running into financial problems. The technology that was coming out, they were not able to commercialize. And I was always a very hands-on guy there. I was to work with the copy division, printer division, look at real business problems, try to build technology out of that, and then go build solutions and write papers. And by 88, 89, I was sort of getting bored because all I was doing was writing papers. And I said, that's not what I want to do. So 90, I just quit. I just went to my boss and said, I'm leaving. I said, are you sure? Can I do anything to change your mind? I said, no, I'm done. I made up my mind. So I left PARC, went to a startup, and that was sort of a transition. In a year, I said, I want to do my own thing. I was in Valley, you can't be in Silicon Valley and not get picked by the bird to be, an entrepreneur.